Hi. Magandang hapon, buenas tardes, good afternoon. I'm Laura. I own a little engine that could business out of the Philippines. It's growing slowly internationally. And I'm a member of EO, the Philippine chapter. What I'm going to be sharing today touches a little bit on the other questions that we've had, but we'll try to focus on how women business owners can contribute more aggressively towards the SDGs. I'd like to start with a classic entrepreneurial image, which is the dishonest business card. For many of us, this is how it starts out. Business card, right? So it might say Laura, CEO, when what it should say is Laura, CEO and janitor. Because that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We start out and we do the grunt work and we do the strategizing, we do the store setup and we do the high-level meetings. We do the humble work behind the audacious goal of changing the world. And because most of us don't have a lot of resources, we're big believers in the 80-20 rule. We're looking for the magic bean that will grow the biggest tree the fastest and have the goose that lays the golden eggs for more and more people. Unburdened by phenomenal organizational infrastructure and bureaucracy and fueled by audacity and gumption, entrepreneurs can be a magic bean medium for the SDGs. We're the companies that tend to have the funky ideas. We're the ones who tend to be willing to experiment because fewer resources means we have to. We tend to be closer to the ground and can possibly give more opportunities to people that the giants might overlook. So I mentioned we're based in the Philippines. We're also based here. And in the Philippines, the record for women in the workforce can be, in many ways, enviable. In the United States, sometimes surprisingly not. Some of what has helped, I think, the relative success of women in the Philippines has been a culture of community and informal social support, so that even now, the nuclear, insular family is rarer than the extended family, and a lot of our employees at every level of the organization have yayas or nannies. Could be a cousin from the provinces, or distant relations who are helping, or neighbors who are helping with home maintenance and family. Because many countries still ascribe these responsibilities to women, company policies that allow for time for home and family can open doors for women in a real way. Businesses that can provide entry-level work for women who otherwise need to be on the streets trying to provide for their family, who can give flexible work hours. That means something. So if governments, however, can get involved and provide, for example, free daycare or free pre-K schooling, this can be life-changing for women in the workforce. For women who choose not to have families or who are lucky enough to have a really amazing network of support, there can still be barriers to business. For instance, women-owned businesses can have a harder time raising funding. And I think our governments and local stock exchanges should be championing women businesses because, in part, it's such an underserved, untapped area for investment. The boys' club can still be a factor with access to influencers, networking, and actual negotiations occurring within literal men's-only clubs, or practices like extreme drinking being required for negotiations, and this can introduce an added degree of risk for the sole woman in the room. Social realities like boys' club behavior bring to light other problems. The Philippines has a pretty good track record of women's education, women in business, women in leadership, but divorce is also still illegal. So it can be close to impossible to leave an abusive marriage, economically, psychologically, or physically, right? The lack of sex education in my country isn't helping the population growth issues. Dealing with corruption as a woman can be a really unique, very special experience. My company, as was mentioned, is 71% women in the Philippines. In the US, it's 100% women. In leadership across the board, we're 80% women. We have policies specifically on inclusion and diversity. We have practices that try to make home and family coexist more easily with work, like a shortened work week, 4-day work week, longer parental, not just maternity leaves, flexible hours so you can bring your kid to school, flexible workplaces, and longer vacations. My company isn't big enough yet to invest in other businesses, but we do try to contribute to industry building and education through our small organic farm on the island of Leyte in the Philippines. It supplies our virgin coconut oil, but it's also a collective farm, so it offers free education to schools and farmers in the area on organicity. We share food and techniques with our neighbors. We participate in livelihood development and medical missions, and we're slowly working towards paying for organic certification of other farms in the area because those fees are crazy high for those farmers. Are we making the biggest impact? Not yet, but because I am an entrepreneur, I can take our values and put them in action and take risks that might be a little too weird for some of the big boys or girls. But we are the willing guinea pigs, aren't we, as entrepreneurs? We provide proof of concept so that other entrepreneurs, other businesses might look at some of the stuff that we do and go, oh, that idea wasn't so crazy after all. It's kind of working. And we're seeing some innovations now from smaller businesses becoming more mainstream. What I'm saying is we're planting some pretty awesome beans. A few will be magical and will yield giant trees with golden egg-laying geese. Others will be mangroves and forests that might grow more slowly but have roots deeper in the ground. In all cases, entrepreneurs can contribute to the creation of symbiotic ecosystems that can provide shelter and nourishment and all this good stuff up and down and sideways, which is really another way to think about sustainable development goals. I, for one, am extremely excited for planting season, and thank you very much for your time. So.